We're going to reopen the budget hearing on the city side of the budget. This evening, before we do anything else, we have to get done with financial administration, public safety, public services, culture, debt, and employee benefits. We will start with public safety. I would direct the attention of the council to page 23. This would be the police. And Chief, if you're here, you might as well make your way to the front in case there are any questions. Any council having any questions on the police budget? Page 23 and 24. Councilor Shrest.
Thank you. And I'm not sure which line item it's at, but I did hear about it. I just want to understand how it's going to work. Chief, on the crossing guards organizer, lack of a better word, supervisor, and now I understand it is on the city side. Am I correct? From the school side to the city side, the line item budget? Am I correct?
Yeah, maybe, maybe I could answer that. We made the decision, you'll be hearing certainly on Thursday, the school committee voted to eliminate the supervisor position for the crossing guards. And I know there's some upcoming meetings with Chief Griffin, Superintendent Murtagh, and other members to come up with our plan for the next school year and how that's going to work. We anticipate it's going to be run through the police department, but we haven't been able to give a definitive plan as to exactly how that's going to work. I think we got a little time over the summer to put that together, but we'll be retaining all of those employees. But in terms of the supervision, that's going to have to be worked out over the next few weeks.
All right, so I was a little premature to say there was, the budget-wise was carrying over, so I apologize, but I just wanted to understand that role will be taken over and controlled by the police department then?
Yes, that's what the plan is.
Okay, but not really sure about the cost. It may be something that was internally that can be absorbed?
Yes, I think that'll just be absorbed through the police budget. I don't think we need an additional line item or anything like that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions by the council? If none, Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor-approved budget for the police department's salaries in the amount of $10,564,083 in salaries and $569,500 in expenses for a total operating budget of $11,133,583. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Council McGinn. Comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charis. Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Move you to page 25. This is the parking department. Any questions on behalf of the council on parking clerk? Being none, Councilor Rozignol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's budget for 2020 for the salary line item, $50,396, as well as the expenses for $9,200 for a total of $59,596. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Councilor Rozignol. Comments? None? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasla.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 11 to nothing.
Move you to page 26, Fire Department.
Mr. Chairman?
Council Manning Martin has to recuse herself.
Yes, I will recuse myself as my brother is a captain on the fire department, therefore I must recuse myself. Thank you.
And Council Gravel, same for myself. My wife works in the department as a administrative assistant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll just call you back in a minute. Questions on behalf of the council for the fire department? Looks like none. Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's budget for fire department for salaries of $9,757,637 and expenses of $351,150 for a total of $10,108,787. So moved, sir.
You've heard the motion by Council Gould. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Yes. Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Gould. Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 9 to nothing.
I'll move
two
the
absent.
council to page 27. This is the fire alarm. Council Manning Martin and Council Sasslaw, you can return. Any questions on fire alarm? Fire alarm? Council Melville.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve salaries for fire alarm. Mayor approved for $209,505 and expenses for $58,000, totaling $267,505. So moved.
On the motion by Council Melville. Comments? None? Roll call?
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charist. Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 11 to nothing.
Move the council to page 28, Emergency Management. Questions on behalf of the council, Emergency Management. Seeing none, Council Gould.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve mayor's budget for emergency management of salaries $8,500 and expenses of $5,425 for a total of $13,925. So moved.
On the motion by Council Gould, comments? Seeing none, roll call?
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Gould. Turco. Gravel.
Yes. Move the council to page 29, Dog Officer. Entertain any questions or comments on behalf of the council. Council Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did we reduce this dog officer line item by $8,000 last year as well?
I don't believe so. I think that's from this year, from the 10,000 to...
For some reason, I just thought we did the same thing last year. Did we?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay. So last year was 63,000. No, 2018 was 63. 2019 was 53.
No, I think you got it the opposite way here. 2017 was 53, 2018 was 58, 2019 was 63 on the budget. Now, 2020 is requested by the mayor at 55.3.
Yep, I guess I'm looking down at the second section though, Councilor,
Okay?
so 53 for 2019, actual year-to-date was 53,931 for 2019. And then the base budget was 71,17? And the department requested 73,000, but the mayor's only approving 63. I'm just wondering if, I mean, does a dog officer have enough to handle? I mean, there's only one dog officer, and there's a lot, you know, how many stray dogs are there? Should we be cutting 8,000? I mean, does she have enough? It seems like a cut, quite a cut, because the dogs keep coming.
Oh, absolutely, yes. That reflects a change in the part-time wages. We were trying to hire a part-timer, but we didn't find a qualified individual yet, and that's where that money came from. We're still looking for a part-timer, and when that occurs, then that'll be corrected.
Well, that makes sense then. Thank you, because as I said, you have one person and you can't control the number of dogs.
No, there's a lot of work for her to do,
Right.
and we are in search of someone to help her out with
Thank
that.
you, Chief. That explains it. Thank you.
Any further questions on dog officer? Being none, Counsel Melville.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve dog officer salaries of $55,308 and expenses of $8,450 for a total of $63,758. So moved.
A motion by Counsel Melville. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Yes. Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasla. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes, council will move to page 30. This is parking meter maintenance, which I hope someday will be other than manual analog parking meters. Any questions? Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Chief. Just because this was a discussion at some point, every year you get a cruiser out of this fund, which, as I look, is no longer funded for a police cruiser. So I know that the mayor put enough for 5 or 6 in the capital.
That's correct.
Is the department good with the amount of cruisers that you have, minus this one that you typically would get?
Yes, we anticipate being able to purchase approximately 5 cruisers with the capital money, which should put us in a good spot for the year going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Being none, Councilor Turco.
Move to approve $21,200 in expenses from the parking meter maintenance fund for a total of $21,200.
You've heard the motion by Councilor Turco. Any comments? Seeing no comments, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That completes public safety. We'll move to public services, page 31. This is the streets and highways. Questions on streets and highways. Councilor Melville.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. With regards to the, let me see here, I just want to, sidewalk and berm, does that come from, is that part of the state money or is that part of our budgetary through, where does that come from, I should say?
Thank you. A number of years ago, we committed to taking the money that we get for the sales meals tax and the hotel tax. to help fund that particular line item. But it's part, at the end of the day, it's part of the whole process.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, I think at the agreement with the council by then was Mayor Bonfanti, that we were voting on an increase in the hotel and meals tax, and we agreed that the incremental increase of the hotel and meal tax would be used to offset costs associated with repairing sidewalks and berms. And that's the supplement what we get from the state on an annual basis for roads. Council Turco.
Thank you. I almost let you finish here, but I wanted to mention electricity for streetlights. Last year, the city paid PMLP $467,000. This year, that's down $100,000. I would imagine that's because of the new lights that PMLP installed. So to see that type of savings, that's great that the city could save that type of money through energy efficiency. And I just wanted to say thank you.
They say you're welcome. Council Sasslaw.
Thank you. Just a question on the line item salaries, just so I'm clear. The reduction of $97,000, that's because we're moving 2 people to the water and sewer, is that correct? But the number of people in your department is staying the same as far as to handle the work that needs to be done?
That's correct, yeah. We moved it over to the enterprise fund.
Oh, thank you. And my only comment on the sidewalk and berm, I guess my only question was, so year to date in 2019 is 87. Is that because, will that number be going up because we haven't finished them for 2019? Is that what's going on? Are we going to be seeing a major increase because we budgeted 250 in the budget, but we're only at 87 year to date right now? Is that why?
Yeah, we put out a contract this year, bid this year for sidewalks. So we received bids back, and right now we're in the process of doing quite a few sidewalks. We'll have a company come in to pave those for us.
That's great. For a second, I thought we went up about $160,000, but now I understand it better. But that's, and I think I have heard that you, since you came in, that was, I think you said when you first came in that was something you want to keep your eye on and a project that you kind of wanted to tackle. And I thank you for that because, you know, there are certain things that the residents do see, and we all do know when it comes to roads and sidewalks, that's and trash pickup and snow removal. Those are visible things that the residents see, and so I'm happy to hear that you've taken that and you've sent out a bid, and that shortly the residents will be seeing that work being done across the city. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I'd like to ask the director, I imagine that items like snow removal services and salt, sand and road salts are difficult to budget depending on the weather, but when I look at the line item for snow removal services, typically runs between $800,000 to $900,000 annually, and we've budgeted $300,000. I just don't know how realistic that is. And then I guess sand and road salt runs between $400,000 and $500,000 the last few years. It's at $300,000, so now we're down to $175,000 for 2020. I understand it's not easy to project, but how realistic is that? Thank you.
If I could, Councilor O'Neill, specifically regarding snow and ice, I don't think it's very realistic. I think I've tried to follow the pattern of other mayors before me to be optimistic and hope for the best, put a low number on there. That one certainly, along with police and fire overtime, along with special education, those are 3 areas that are always hard to gauge. That's a low number, certainly based on the history of past years. I've just always felt that that is an item that, depending on the winter, we can always come back and seek additional funds, seek additional reserve funds. If not, then if we put in, another 400, 500,000, which is probably more realistic, that's just a significant tax increase that, we'd have to add to the budget. So I'm comfortable going forward with this, being optimistic, hoping for the best, but in reality, it's not really a strong number.
No, thank you. I think you hit it right on the head. It's not easy to budget for it. Things could change, but I just get concerned that ultimately if we have to take out our reserves, it's still part of the budget. But thank you.
Councilor Chirest.
Thank you, Director. About how many miles of street and sidewalks does the city have? Approximately, within a couple miles.
It's about 200 miles in roadways, about 70 in sidewalks.
Okay, and I just want the public to know, we have a lot of roads and sidewalks that need a lot of repair, just like any other community. I drove down Route 1 today, and I don't know even how people can drive down Route 1 without their front end being out of the alignment. But what I'm trying to say, when I look down the list here, and I see about 19, 18 workers on the city side for the streets and sidewalks. We get a lot of work out of those folks. And folks, I just want to let people know is that that's not a lot of workers on the streets and sidewalks of everything that goes on in this city. So try to be patient when your potholes are not filled right away and the sidewalks are lifting and the tree root is doing damage and things of that nature. These guys and men and women that work in the DPW work very hard. I see it every day. I'm very appreciative of all the work they do. For over 200 and some miles of streets and sidewalks, for 18 folks to maintain, we're getting pretty good bang for the buck here. So I just would be remiss if I didn't shout that out. So folks, just be careful on what the roads and sidewalks look like, but also be very patient. They're doing the best they can for the tax dollars that we're spending on it. Thank you.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Labossiere. 70 miles of sidewalks. That's the number one complaint, I guarantee you, of every councilor here is sidewalks. With the 250,000, how many of the 70 miles do we cover?
The problem is you do a lot of Band-Aid work, so you get a lot of small sections that we repair, so you don't get a lot of bang for your buck when you do small sections. But hopefully putting it out to bid now, we can go in, prep a bunch of spots, and have one company come in and get them all done at one time. So we're hoping to utilize those bid processes, get a large amount ready, and then have them come in to do it. So we probably hope to get maybe 5 or 6 miles worth a year when we get to that point, but I'm not sure dollar-wise how far we'll get.
Of the 70 miles, how many miles do you think are in need of repair? No, it's all hard to...
My guess is half.
65 out of the 70?
My guess would be half that.
Seriously?
Seriously, yeah.
And what would it cost if we were to fix every sidewalk? I know it's utopia, it's not going to happen, but I'm curious, what kind of dollars would it take?
Didn't Oswald say 5 minutes?
Boy, you put me right on the spot.
Well, while you're looking for that, Councilor Osborne had asked that question many years ago, and the number was pretty significant, which is what got the discussion about taking the incremental meals tax for that.
Do it. I'm just trying to make a point that for those folks out there watching or eventually going to tune in, it is so frustrating, and I know you're doing it. You're working hard, as Councilor Charest said. I just wish there was some way we could have some plan. These poor folks that say, you're not even on the list or you're on the list. Is there a list?
Oh, we definitely have a list. It's overwhelming, but we have a list.
Okay. I don't want to hold you to it. We have to move forward on other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Gould. Any other questions? Being none, Council Gould.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the mayor's budget for streets and highways in the event of salaries, $1,149,942, and expenses of $1,556,000, for a total of $2,705,942. So move, sir.
On the motion by Council Gould. Any more comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Council, go to page 32, Public Works Administration. We'll entertain any questions from the council. Council Sasslaw.
Yes, motion to approve salaries being $557,936, expenses being $147,500, for a total amount of $705,436. So move.
On the motion by Council Sasslaw. Comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Council move to page 33, Garage. Entertain any questions on behalf of Garage. Seeing no questions, Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's approved budget for salaries in the amount of $290,359, and expenses in the amount of $364,000 for a total operating budget for the garage entity of $654,359. So moved.
On the motion by Council McGinn. Comments? None? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Melville. O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis. Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes. Council will move to page 34, Solid Waste Disposal. We'll entertain any questions on solid waste disposal. Councilor Manning Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you explain the change in the rubbish contract from $2,775,000 reduced to $2,340,000, and the recycling contract increasing from $425,000 to $910,000?
So those line items, we're just trying to get in line with what the contracts cost. So the numbers are, we just needed to move some of the money out of the rubbish contract into the recycling contract to show where the money's actually going. But the budget amount are still pretty, about the same. It's all based on the contract.
Did the contract change?
It goes up the amount that the contract says from year to year. On my request, I shorted the rubbish contract just a little bit because of the incidentals that we do, the recycling that we do at at our particular yard. So Mike caught that and adjusted that.
On the recycling, though, it's doubled. It's 425 to 910,000.
So we minus the rubbish contract and put that into the recycling contract to reflect what the contracts actually are.
simply because if you go to 2017, the numbers are closer reflective to your numbers right now. See, the 2017 rubbish is 2,300,000, which is closer to your number now. I'm just very confused with the 2017 numbers for rubbish and recycling are almost identical to the 2020. So I don't, and then they were a lot higher in 2018 and 19. So I just don't
So
understand how
our
that could happen.
trash disposal has gone down a bit over the years, which is why the actual numbers are down a bit.
Recycling is up?
So it wasn't, the correct contract wasn't reflected in the line item. So we were short in the line item. So we're trying to reflect the right costs in each line item.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I think Council Manning Martin is right. It is a little confusing how these numbers kind of lay out over these last few years. The fiscal year 2019, though, combining them would be about 3.2 million from fiscal year 19. Fiscal year 20, what we're seeking is 3,250,000, an increase of 50,000 over last year. I think this now accurately reflects what the costs are. I think, as we all know, the cost of recycling has gone up quite a bit. So I think this more accurately reflects the recycling costs going up and our rubbish disposal costs going down. But really, the contract, it's went up from 3.2 million to 3.25 million. It's just a $50,000 increase over last year.
Thank you, Mayor.
Council Saslow.
And I believe, it's the same vendor, right? Same vendor does both, right?
Yeah, we have a, yep, JRM.
Any other questions? Council Saslow.
Motion to approve salaries of $69,692, expenses of $3,307,300, total of $3,376,992.
On the motion by Council Saslow. Comments? None? Roll call?
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now the good news, you get to skip page 35. So you did it as a part of the enterprise fund. 36 and 37. You'll go to page 38, which is facilities. We'll entertain questions on behalf of the council as it pertains to facilities. Council Manning Martin.
Yes, there's a 20% increase in salaries. Could you explain that?
I think I could take that. It's the addition of one position. Our facilities assistant, Dave Gamache, he's been working now for 3 years, I believe, but he was under the school budget, and I'm not sure exactly why he was under the school budget, but we just, in discussions, we're trying to be more centralized, be a little bit more transparent with what is in the department. So we pushed the position out of the school budget and put it into the city budget so that we could clearly establish who exactly is in that department. We felt that was more transparent and the appropriate thing to do. But that's for the increase. It's just a salary that has been transferred from the school over to the city side.
So the school had a savings of that salary?
Yes.
which is about $67,000. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council Sasslaw.
Just noticing, there's one vacancy. Do you expect to fill that, Mayor? Is that one that you're going to fill? It says TBA, Building Maintenance Craft, on that
Yes,
list.
that's actually a city hall that we need to fill.
Okay, thank you.
Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that explanation about the shift from the school budget. You did tell us last year that that was a coming attraction, so nice to see that you followed through on that. This is a very minor point for whoever's running the spreadsheets, but the head count there is identified at 6, but you've actually got 7 people listed, so I think it's just a correction that needs to be made. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, so noted. Any other questions? Being none, Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's approved budget for salaries of $519,657 and expenses of $99,750 for a total operating budget for facilities of $619,407. So moved.
On the motion by Council McGinn, any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Refer to council to page 39, cemetery. Questions on behalf of cemetery. Councilor Melville.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor or Mr. Gigrasura, there's a position here not being funded. So it's essentially going to come down to superintendent and then one maintenance person and one foreman, or what's that going to look like?
This is one I'm a little concerned about, certainly. Again, looking for opportunities to take some cost-saving measures. We felt with the vacant position that this was one that we could take a risk on. Certainly going to have to monitor this in the department. At our regular meeting shortly, I'm going to be putting forth for your vote our new cemetery superintendent, Taylor McCallum, and there'll be some internal shifting. He's been with the department now a couple of years. But I think it is a risk. Certainly the cemetery provides a lot to the city. It is a department that brings in some funding that's going to have to be monitored very closely. We do anticipate that we potentially could have some DPW assistance if there was an issue. But that's one I think we really need to review here over the next few months to see how that goes. I want to take this opportunity to see if it can work. I did want to thank Dave Cronin. Dave has been superintendent now for a number of years. His retirement, well-deserved, well-earned retirement. I asked him to come on board to help with the transition with the new supervisor taking over shortly. And he's just been a rock star for us, as he has been for a number of years, and I wanted to thank him. I know he's worried about the superintendent, the cemetery position being reduced. And that's why I said I think it's something we have to really watch closely. And ultimately, I might be coming back depending on how things go.
Thank you.
Councilor Trask.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you recognize this is something you really want to watch closely. I know it's not maintenance on the sidewalks or the streets, as we had a full discussion about, but one thing I think all of us have heard over and over again by people of the city and people outside the city is how beautiful our cemeteries look. And it really does matter to just the reputation of our city. So I'm glad you recognize that you need to watch that closely. Please watch it close enough that we don't get into any burnt spots on the cemetery or trees being not pruned or what they need, all the work you folks do. And you have done a great job, Mr. Cronin, and I know there's a lot of big footsteps that he's going to have to fill, But a young guy like him should be able to do it no problem, right? But again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for mentioning that you are going to be watching that very closely, because I think it's close to everybody's heart that sits on this committee. Thank you.
And just to touch on that, and thank you for those comments. Certainly, as I stated at the last meeting, when I was looking for cost-saving measures, I was looking for opportunities for reduction through attrition, through people retiring or vacancies that haven't been filled. But certainly, all of them carry some risk. We need to make sure we continue to provide our core municipal services for our city. I know all of us rely on that to answer to our residents and to our constituents. And this is one that is a risk that we can take, but it is a risk. And again, we'll be monitoring that closely. But there's a number of positions like this that are going to be watched over the next few months to see how it goes.
Other questions on the cemetery? Seeing none. Councilor Shrest.
I'd like to move to approve the mayor's 2020 budget of salaries of $225,084 and expenses of $22,325 for a total of $247,409. So move.
On the motion by Councilor Shrest, any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla. Yes. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That completes the public services, and we'll flip through. We've done the human services. We'll go to culture and recreation, and that is on page 47. By the way, I commend all of you tonight. You're doing a great job. We'll entertain any questions or concerns by councilors on George Peabody House.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to take a moment to thank the George Peabody House. It's not, we do not have a full-time employee there. However, we have a number of part-time employees that really are there because of the love of the city's history and the love of the George Peabody House, in particular, the Leather Workers Museum. Dick St. Pierre, Georgia Metropolis, Sheila D'Ambrosio, a number of people really are so committed to maintaining the legacy of George Peabody. And I really wanted to thank them. This year, we brought in our Curious City Children's Museum, which has just been tremendous for the city. And we worked with the George Peabody House, the employees there, to make this transition for the 3 months. It's been a tremendous success. We are now over 4,000 visitors from actually 99 communities, well beyond our best expectations. And I think there'll be a presentation and a discussion we need to have on its future shortly. The George Peabody House, Mr. St. Pierre, and the historical community in our city have generously signed on to allow the Children's Museum to continue for the summer to the months of July and August, and will continue to operate the museum. It's been tremendous field trips from not just Peabody, but from other communities, and we've really, again, it's been beyond our best expectations, but it doesn't happen without the assistance of the George Peabody House and those that are part of our historical community that worked with us to make this happen. And I just wanted to point that out and thank them for their commitment and assistance with this important project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions? Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's budget for the George Peabody House, the salaries of $36,000 and expenses of $17,750 for a total of $53,750. So moved.
On the motion by Council Gould, any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville. O'Neill. McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'll refer the council to page 48, Main Library, Mr. Mayor.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I did want to open up with some comments. I've been working very closely with Melissa Robinson, our outstanding library director, and I wanted to comment, last week or 2 weeks ago, I met with the board, the library board, and reviewed the budget, really learned a great deal from some very passionate, committed people who serve our library, elected positions. They do not do it for the money, certainly. They do it for the love of the city and the love of the library services. It was very educational to me, kind of made me rethink some of the decisions that I was putting forward, some advocacy from Councilor Gravel, Councilor Manning Martin, and others. Really, I wanted to look at that department over the last couple days. We've had some discussions, Melissa Robinson and I, and what I wanted to propose, and I have a new budget here that I wanted to present, was to take up on your motion, Councilor Gravel, from the other day that you did withdraw at the time, but to take $76,000 from financial administration, put it towards the library budget to make sure that they have their certification. That's extremely important. I learned a great deal about what that entitles the city of Peabody, how that triggers some additional funding. I did want to state Stephanie Najjar, the chair this year, wrote a wonderful letter. Gina Hearn and everybody advocated strongly, and it was a very enlightening discussion for me. And I think it's appropriate that we as a city make sure that our library services are protected. We're very fortunate in the city. I think we're one of the few that actually have 3 operating libraries, and just outstanding people committed to providing for our youth, people across the city that utilize it, and the library services have become much more than just going in and getting books. It's become really a social organization, a social assistance organization, and provides so much to the community. So I learned a lot. I think this is the right decision moving forward. I wanted to present the new library budget, which is just an increase of $76,000, to make sure that that number is the number that they need in order to make sure and make certain that we get our certification. So I wanted to present that to the council.
Motion to receive by Councilor Melville. All in favor, any opposed, to vote? Any questions on behalf of the council? Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. So I had a couple of questions. So regarding the full-time salaries, so it's a reduction of about $70,000. I'm just trying to see where does that reduction, how is that being, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. I just saw you had the vacancy on the assistant library director. Is that pretty much where the savings is that correct?
It's one position. The assistant library director position has actually been filled. Kate Merlin, who was a senior librarian, is now has just been approved by the board to be the new assistant library director, and I'm looking forward to working with her. I think she's going to be excellent. We would not be filling her position, so there would be one less librarian position in the department, full-time.
Okay. And how did this, and I know we had a brief discussion, Mayor, and I just wanted to, for myself and for the public, with this change in the funding, are we, what are we talking about, the hours of operation of the 3 branches across the city? Just so, you know.
So the change in funding allows us to restore a lot of the hours that we were looking at cutting from the branches. So they will remain open Tuesday evenings and Saturdays in the summer. So the only change is that the south and the west branch will close at 1 o'clock on Saturday instead of 2:30.
And that's it.
That's the only change to the branch schedule, and there are no changes to the main library schedule.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Being none, I'll entertain a motion from Council Manning Martin to approve the mayor's adjusted budget amount for the library. Salaries in the amount of $1,303,477. Expenses in the amount of $482,956. The total budget, $1,786,433.
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
On the motion by Council Manning Martin. Comments? None. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasla.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'll make one comment on the library. I do appreciate what you did, Mr. Mayor, and I think it's very important that we keep the perspective of that library up to the top level, and I appreciate the move that was made. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the trustees for chiming in and helping out. We'll guide the council to page 49, Recreation. Any questions on recreation? Council Manning Martin, sorry.
I have a motion. I'd like to reduce outside services in the Recreation Department line, account 53125 by $5,000. So moved. So instead of $17,000, it'd be $12,000. So moved.
For the motion by Council Manning Martin. Comments? Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we just have some more color on outside services, what those were for, or what it's, I guess, projected for, $17,000? Thank you.
Hi. That basically covers the transportation for the special needs summer program and the staffing. And some of the other activity, and the 5th grade basketball league. Those are the 2 programs that basically covers.
Thank you.
Councilor Charest.
If it was cut $5,000, that would bring us back down to the actual lower than 2017. I don't know what 2016 would have been, but what would you have to eliminate? You'll be going back 2 years at least.
There was an issue with the transportation billing the last year, so there was an overage in that. That's now been reduced. We went from 2 buses down to 1, so that's pretty much where it all costs. It costs about $9,000 per bus. We provide transportation from picking up the child at their home, bringing them to the Burke School for 8 weeks, and then bringing them home in the afternoon. That also includes any field trips that they attend.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure. So you're saying you would have to eliminate one of those buses?
Yes, and that also covers chaperones that the school department provides for us for that. So we would cut that and try to merge onto one. If we have too many children, it makes it a very difficult process for the staff of the transportation department to run two buses, or to run one bus. Makes for a very long day, so two buses would be better, ideal, much more ideal.
And is that the SNAP program? Am I
Yes.
remember it correctly?
Yes.
It's SNAP?
Yep.
And there is a time limit of how long children can be on a bus?
I believe
I know
so.
on regular school days and things, so I have to imagine that it would be on any city services for rec. And some of these services that you're providing, I would have to imagine will be in a plan for the children to know not to regress at all.
Yes.
Throughout the summer.
Correct.
Am I correct?
We get a copy of their IEP. Our staff are well-versed in their IEPs so that they know what issues that we need to work on with them during the summer. It's not academic, it's more social aspects. And then if there's two buses, it just makes it easier to run this program, where there's 25 children and they have to pick up all 25 throughout the entire city on one bus. So two buses makes it so they're on the bus half the time.
And I take it a little back when you use the word easier, because there's nothing easy about that.
No, there is not.
There's nothing easy about that. And I think with respect to Councilor for the suggestion, I think in the long end, we actually could be looking at increased costs, even though maybe the schools, it's all one city. But I could see an issue with this, especially when you talk about transportation regarding children with special needs from this city. So I thank you.
Council Turco.
My apologies. On the motion, Council Manning, I missed why you wanted to cut the $5,000.
Last year, I had pointed out that the Parks and Recreation budget had annually increased incrementally at a rate that was much higher than other departments. And I don't remember the figure, but over 3 years it might have been like 36%. It was a large number. So we had a lengthy discussion on that last year. So when we had, the mayor has revisited the library budget, and he's reconsidered, and he has moved some money around from the reserve, the financial reserve that was mentioned earlier, which I appreciate tremendously. But my point being that this was to be, I expected this to happen at some point, that certain departments, if they were level funded or 1% or had reductions, while another department, year after year after year, had significant increases. When the chickens come home to roost, they did come home to roost this year, and it was at the expense of the library that the mayor did address and has been corrected, which is great. So the Parks and Recreation Department, the beautiful parks, I think there's a great program. I think it's well run. I think the parks are looking beautiful, and they're well maintained, and people like that. But I think that to have an increase again in Parks and Recreation at a percentage amount, which is significantly higher than some others, is the point I'm trying to make. So I'm going to maintain my motion to reduce the outside services by $5,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ahmad, for the explanation. Jen, the $5,000, you said that was the fifth grade basketball program that would have to get cut? No.
Just the special needs program. That really covers the transportation. That's really the biggest bulk of this. We're allowed if we have 17,000, we can cover two buses. We can, if we have cut that, we're going to be down to 1. Children are going to be on the buses for at least an hour to an hour and a half in the morning and in the afternoon. So they're getting on the bus at 7:30 in the morning. They're not getting to our program until 9 a.m. Then they're with us all day until 2. They're not getting home until 3:30. It's just a very long day. It helps with these children can't be on a bus for an hour and a half. So we really need to have 2 buses. That includes a monitor on each bus.
Thank you.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. So I just want to understand, and I'm looking at the outside services detailed report. I know there are certain obligations when it comes to education that we have to provide during the school year. When it comes to, I'm just going to use the notes, field trip, SNAP, and I think I understand what you're saying. If someone signs up for this program, is this a requirement, or is it something that we do as just a good community? I'm just trying to understand it.
This program has been going on for over 30 years, and transportation has always been a part of it. The city doesn't pay for any other aspect of our programming. All of our programs are fee supported, except for the special needs playground program, the elementary basketball league that we do, and our fencing instructors, which we have Olympic fencing instructors, and it's absolutely free. Those are the only 3 programs that the general fund budgets pays for.
So when you talk about the 5th grade basketball, I'm just trying to, so where do I see that? I know what you're talking about. My children participate. I'm just trying to understand, because I'm looking at the motion the council's made is basically on outside services, and then you throw in the 5th grade basketball. Is that number buried in one of these expense items? I don't see.
No, outside services, that covers usually the trophies, the awards, the basketballs, the scorebooks, things like that. The staff is covered in the part-time wages.
Okay, so, and I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but might I suggest, I would definitely not want to touch the SNAP program personally, but I do look at, and I'm curious on your advice or your what you think, as far as I see a spring summer brochure of $5,525. I also see professional dues, $850. I see conferences. I know I'm going outside, but the point I'm trying to make, and especially with the brochure, and you do nice brochures, don't get me wrong. I think one year, one of my kids was in them. But are we at a point now where we can look at possibly taking people and moving them through the internet? I know you just put a new registration system online. Yep. So I'm saying, okay, do we get rid of the snail mail, the paper? And yep. I wouldn't want to cut the SNAP program, but as a possibility, maybe that $6,000, that $5,500 printing brochure, might that be a better way rather than cutting the 5th grade basketball program or cutting one of the buses? Your thoughts on that?
We used to do 4 brochures at about $4,000 per brochure. We've cut down already to 2. We only do a spring and summer and a fall winter, and that goes to all of the elementary schools, the middle school, and to other city businesses within the community. That's what it costs to do 15,000 brochures. That's what we end up doing, and we've cut it down to 2 already. We have new software. We use as much social media as we possibly can. We pay a fee to use Constant Contact for email blasts. We utilize that to the best of our ability, but we have found that when we don't print a hard copy, we don't get nearly as much registration for our spring and summer programs and for our winter and fall programs. So there are those people that need to have it in their hand in order to figure out what programs they want to run. So we could add it to our revolving and increase our costs of our other programs to start including that, but I would hate to see that just goes away.
Other questions? Thank you.
Before Council Manning Martin, Council Gould, did you have a
I did, if I could, please.
Yeah.
Jen, can you just summarize for us? The proposed cut of $5,000 would affect the busing of special needs children to the day camp for the months of July and half of August. And I know Councilor Manning Martin is not proposing cutting the special needs bus. She's proposing cutting the $5,000 outside services. It's $5,000. My colleagues, it's $5,000. We're talking about special needs kids, and we're talking about them having the same opportunity, and it's against the law to have them on the bus for an hour and a half in the morning if we combined it. You gave another scenario about morning and afternoon. I think we need to reassess what we're voting for here and do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Manning Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The number was $5,000 in outside services. The thing I was looking at, which cost $5,000, which is what Councilor Sasslaw pointed out, which was my point, is a brochure for $5,500. I didn't choose. Are we going to choose between children being on a bus or a SNAP program or programs or printing? I didn't do that. What was offered was that was what she can't cut. So she was directing the attention to that program. I did not. And I will close with, you can get free printing at the Sheriff's Department at any time for any community that they serve. They're the print shop up there, and I suggest that the city start to use it because if $5,000 is what it costs to print your programs, I think that's excessive, especially when it can be done free service that's offered through the Essex County Sheriff's Department. They have a print shop. So I would encourage every department here, if you are spending that much money on brochures, that you contact the Sheriff's Department and ask them if you could get some printing for free. And I think that if each department is spending $5,000 on printing, that's probably a lot of money, because $5,000 in every department on things that could be done for free or at a lesser charge is a lot of money. $5,000 adds up because we were short $76,000 in the library fund prior to it being corrected this evening, and 75 divided by $5,000 could have picked that up if we took $5,000 off of every outside services throughout this budget. We could have picked up that money. So $5,000 adds up, and that's why we're in the position where the library was in jeopardy of losing its certification. The library that's named after George Peabody, the founder of this community who left his money for education and for that library. And that is because we have been funding other departments more so than others for a significant period of time. That is my point. And I don't appreciate at all that people would consider for a second that I'm suggesting we keep kids on buses, special education children, or that I would propose we cut that. That was unfair, uncalled for, and I don't appreciate it at all. My motion stands, and I suggest everybody try to cut down on your paper costs and reach out to the Sheriff's Department for some free printing. Thank you.
Point well taken. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again. Just real brief, last year's recreation budget was down by 1.2%. So this is a non-issue. I can't support this motion under any circumstance. Thank you.
Mr. Shrez.
Thank you. Even though I understand where Councilor Manning Martin is going with the printing, and I can understand looking to do printing elsewhere and trying to save money, but I would suggest that we, even though the Sheriff's Department can do the printing, but because there's materials about where children will be, we look at a different avenue, not to, Ms. Manning Martin, I understand what you were saying, and I'm not criticizing you. What I'm just asking the director is to look at a different avenue of printing, not to use And I don't think, again, I'm not saying Ms. Martin was saying this, I'm very cautious. That's all I'm being, very cautious about where we have our materials printed, because I'm not sure if that is the best place to have it done. We can have the printing throughout the city, if different things, if it's the International Day, but things that are scheduled for children, I'm very, very cautious on. That's all.
Any other questions on the motion? And the motion on the floor is to reduce 53,125 by $5,000. And I would like to reiterate one thing. The motion was to reduce by $5,000. It did not specify for busing. And I think that would be unfair that be labeled. I hope the press or everybody understands that. And that what people aren't able to look at from home is last year, the SNAP program, which is the busing, cost $8,404. So there would be no impact. They would have to decide whether or not they want to print a brochure. That would be where the priority would lie. It has nothing to do with deciding. We don't get to decide what outside services are contracted for. That's her job. Councillor Sasslaw. On reducing the budget by $5,000 for line item 53,125 in recreation, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Melville,
No.
O'Neill,
Nope.
McGinn,
No.
Rozignol,
No.
Manning Martin,
Yes?
Sasslaw, Charist,
Yes.
Gould,
No.
No.
I made a mistake.
Point of
Chairman.
order, sorry.
Point of order. I made a mistake. May I change my vote? I did not mean to say yes. I meant to say no.
You are allowed to change your vote. The call was not complete.
For the record, I vote no.
okay. Gould, Turco,
No.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion to reduce fails.
On the motion for the recreation budget, Councillor Turco.
Move to approve the recreational budget salaries line item at $296,938, as well as expenses of $26,942 for a total of $323,873.
On the motion, salaries 296,931, expenses 26,942, total 323,873. Comments? None. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
No.
Sasslaw, Charist,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-1.
Move the council to page 50. Parks. Council Manning Martin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to reduce outside service line 53125 by $5,000. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Council Manning Martin. Council Turco.
On that motion, before there's any implication of where that, Councilor Manning Martin, since you have the outside services checks in here, do you have somewhere that you wanted that $5,000 to come from specifically?
No, that's up to the department head. She had 97,000, I'm sorry, fiscal year-to-date 2019 is $90,000. Base budget for 2019 was $97,000. She requested $102,000, and the mayor approved $102,000. So the base budget was 97, so I'm requesting to reduce $5,000. And, you know, there's a lot of, sorry, hold on. There's a whole bunch of services that are here listed to the tune of $90,378. And they're all outside services, and that's for her to decide. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Council Trust.
Yes, I just want to make a note. Thank you for having all these outside services vendors down. It makes it easier for us to understand where some of the money is being spent. And I know in the years we all had questioned where that money was going. So I just want to make a note that it's appreciative that you have that. Thank you.
Any other questions? On the motion to reduce the outside services, account number 53-125 under the parks by $5,000. That's the motion. That would bring the total to $97,000. On the motion, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas,
No.
Melville.
No.
O'Neill.
No.
McGinn.
No.
Rozignol.
No.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charist.
No.
Gould.
No.
Turco.
No.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion fails 7-3.
On the motion for parks,
8-3.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's budget for parks in salaries of $224,778 and expenses of $438,511 for a total of $663,289. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Any comments? Hearing none. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasla.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-1.
I will guide the council to page 51, Brooksby Farm. Comments or questions from the council? Council Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that salaries have increased by 12%, and it appears full-time salaries went up by, let's see. Part-time salaries went up, and full-time went up, right? Both full-time and part-time salaries went up, and overtime earnings went up $10,000. Can you explain that?
For the part-time salaries, basically that covers the new minimum wage increases for 2019, and then it goes up again in 2020. So we're getting double whammy there. Then our H-2A employees, they are paid out of the part-time line as well, and their rate has gone up at least $1, close to $1 an hour. And then the overtime includes full-time, overtime, and part-time that have to work on Sundays.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, and the full-time salaries that went up, that must be raises.
Yeah,
then.
that's just the retro and the 2%, or whatever that includes.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any further questions? Council Melville.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve Brooksby Farm salaries, Mayor approved $573,300, and expenses of $139,350 for a total of $712,650. So moved.
On the motion by Counsel Melville, comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville. O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion
Move the
carries.
council to page 52, Tilly's Farm. Comments, questions, or concerns? Any councilors? Seeing no hands, Council Sasslaw.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2020 May-approved budget for Tilly's Farm, salaries being $159,567, expenses being $73,000, for a total of $232,567. So move.
On the motion by Council Sasslaw, any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Melville. O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Move the council to page 53, Forestry. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's approved budget of salaries in the amount of $189,915 and expenses in the amount of $55,540 for a total operating budget for the Forestry Department of $245,455. So moved.
On the motion by Council McGinn. Comments? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes. Move the council to page 54, Historical Commission. Comments? Questions? Council Manning Martin.
Move to approve the mayor's recommended salaries for $900 and expenses for $2,700 to total $3,600. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Council Manning Martin. Comments? None? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill. McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol. Manning
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw. Charis. Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel. Motion carries.
Okay, we will now move to debt services. We're almost there. Hang in there. There's only a few tabs left. Debt services. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Gingrich on debt services? You do. Councilor Turco.
I do, and maybe the mayor, or Mr. Gingrich can answer it. Just for my own curiosity, is the Brown School, how much long, is that part of this, the payment for the Brown School? When does that come off? I was curious about all the schools, the Brown School, the Carroll School, and the Higgins, when they were all due to be paid off, since there's been discussion about a high school. The timing may be such that we can plan it when some of these are coming off, that's all.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we can get that information too.
Thank you.
Mr. Gingrich, they're 20 years, right? Or 25? Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting old. Yeah, it was during my time on the school committee, so, yeah. So, but we've received all our reimbursements from the school building. Yeah, we got that, so, okay. You'll get a schedule. Would you like to make the motion?
Thank you. No, I trust both these fine gentlemen to...
No, would you like to make the motion to
Oh, no.
approve the debt service budget? They trust you, too.
I will make a motion to approve the debt service expenses line item of $8,135,805 for a total of $8,135,805.
On the motion by Councilor Turco, comments? None, roll call?
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes. Let's go to page 56. We're now into the Peabody retirement system. Council Melville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question. I pulled up on the page for the Peabody retirement system in the appropriations forecast, and it had for 2019, and I guess this comes from PARAC, it had for 2019, employer total cost with interest was $12,162,036. And there's a slight difference on what the department request and the mayor approved is. I just was wondering if we're still following that forecast, or?
That's the correct total, but part of that's paid by the electric light and part of it's paid by the housing authority. So this is the city portion, less the enterprise fund is what we'd be voting on.
And, at this point with that, it's going to have us our funded ratio for all the union city employees and everybody else is 52%. But if we follow this forecast, which we'll have at 2036, double that payment to 22 million, we'll be at 96%. So it seems like we have a substantial amount to make up, but if we follow that, our liability will go down substantially. So
Yeah, it should be complete at 100% funding by 2036.
and at 22 million at that point, that would be the contribution that year. So as a 34-year-old, looking forward to seeing that for whoever else is here. But it's going to be substantial. So I just say that because I'm curious. My other question was, are they calculating this based off of the salaries that are today, or are they based off forecasting it what the salaries are anticipated?
There's a complete actuarial study with that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Council Melville.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the salary, it says under total salaries for the Peabody retirement for $10,418,915 and expenses of $17,000 for a total of $10,435,915. So moved.
You heard the motion by Council Melville. Questions? Comments? None? Roll call?
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville. Yes. O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We'll move to page 57, workers' comp. Any questions on behalf of the council? Comments? Concerns? Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's budget for 2020 for workmen's compensation in the amount of $249,000 for salaries, $1,000 for expenses, for a total budgeted dollars of $250,000. So moved.
On the motion, comments? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes. Move to page 58, employee benefits. Comments, questions, concerns? Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Gingrich. Mike, the payroll processing fee went up 22.5% through ADP. And we briefly talked about this last year. There's a lot cheaper ways that we could process payroll. I think, as I mentioned last year, the Port Authority and most of the state agencies have gone with online. They don't even issue paper checks. been a lot cheaper.
Yeah, we have all new hires that have to do online or direct deposits. But this really has to do with a lot of the unfunded mandate that we have for ADA or ACA reporting, and that those fees keep escalating, as well as the tax reporting and other processes involved.
And there's no way to cut this. I mean, it's $200,000 for payroll service. There's no way to cut that down?
I think we're going to see it to keep growing. That's what my feeling.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Well, Mike, what's ACA reporting? I'm not familiar with that term.
That has to do with offering employees health insurance if they work more than 30 hours. It's almost like a W-2 that you have to report to each employee and then file to the government. And there's a whole tracking process with each employee's profile. It's pretty detailed.
So do we still provide for a hard paper check in the city?
We do.
Have you asked because following up on my fellow Councilor Turco, I haven't received a hard copy check in years. If I want to, I can print it out on the paper at the office I work at, but have you inquired with ADP what the savings would be if we did not do? Because not only, as a matter of fact, do you really print it, I believe sometimes you even mail it, if I'm not mistaken. So have you inquired with ADP what the savings would be if we didn't have that, they didn't provide that service?
We can check to see how much savings. Right now they process per employee, and I think there may be an additional cost if they receive a paper check. The other factor is, too, it's part of a collective bargaining thing we'd have to go back towards.
And that's fine. I'm going to, if I'm here, I can tell you I'm going to be with Councilor Turco and continue to, I'm just going to ask you that, to look at this, because I do think there is some, there's just something to be said about maybe, I know ADP is the big one and they're the player, but I would just ask you if maybe the next year or so, if you could maybe focus a little bit and just see if possibly we can do something, because $200,000 is a lot for payroll processing, in my opinion. Thank you.
Any further comments? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Gingras. Are we obligated to use ADP, or can you use a ADP competitor? Do you happen to know if any other municipalities using Paychex or any of the other payroll services?
We could investigate that. One of the issues we have is we have skeleton staff, and to be able to do a conversion would be a major undertaking.
Yeah, I think there's some of these services support that conversion. So, I mean, it's probably worth, to the point being raised here by Councilor Sassler and Councilor Turco, it's probably worth at least an inquiry with a couple of the competitors to see if there's an opportunity out there. Because it seems like we've been a little bit beholden to ADP for a pretty sizable expense.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would agree with you, Councilor McGinn. I think the minute you put it out to bid, you're going to see that the rate's going to go down because ADP is not going to want to lose anything close to what they could lose. So might be a great idea and could impact next year. Councilor McGinn, could you address this page?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the mayor's approved budget of salaries of $245,000 for a total employee benefits budget of $245,000. So moved.
On the motion by Councilor McGinn. Comments? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozikow.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should have asked this before the motion, but why do we capture this under salaries rather than under expenses?
I hate to say that's how we've always done it, but I can take a look at that and change it.
Thank you, Mr. Gingras.
Good comment. Page 59, Insurance Administration. Any questions? Councilor Turco.
Move to improve insurance administration salaries at $14,470,000 and expenses of $1,088,000 for a total of $15,558,000. I'm missing the subtotal here. Subtotal city services, that's not a line item, so we don't need to do that. Correct?
We're good at the subtotal city services you don't need to do, so. Motion is properly presented at $14,470,000 in salaries, $1,088,000 in expenses for a total for insurance administration of $15,558,000. On the motion by Councilor Turco. Comments? None, roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Yes. Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Going to move you backwards, as we have one section left, which is financial administration. Proper motion to be made is to approve the mayor's approved budget of $424,000 for a total amount of $424,000 since 76 was moved. On the motion?
So moved.
I'll make the motion. On the motion, comments, questions? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasla. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
That concludes the city side of the budget, and we're going to take just a 2-minute recess for biology purposes, and then we'll come right back. Please just make it 2 minutes, because we've got to move a regular meeting as well. Okay, we're back in session. On the Finance Committee, as the committee of the whole meeting this evening, which was the agenda for Thursday evening, June 13th, we were working in the city side, just so people understand, we were working on the budget, which was really from Tuesday night session, the recess. We're now on the agenda items for the June 13th meeting, which was scheduled at 6:45. We're at 9 p.m. If I would, because in respect for the firefighters who are here, and they've taken the time to be here, I would like to take up item E, Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 12, Fire Protection and Prevention, Article 3, Fire Department, Section 12-41, regarding staffing levels within the Peabody Fire Department. Chief?
Good evening, Council. I did want to just mention that this was collectively bargained through the course of negotiations with the firefighters' union representation, and I think Chief Pasden will be able to fully explain the purposes and the benefits behind this, but I did want to mention at first that this was collectively bargained with the fire union.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for entertaining this. As the mayor said, this was a proposal that the Local 925 came to the table with during our negotiation process. Currently, the ordinance, I think you have it before you, we have 1 chief, 4 deputy chiefs, 10 captains, and 17 lieutenants. The proposal is to reduce the lieutenants by 4, bring that down to 13, and bring the fire captains up to 14. Currently, right now, we have a fire captain that works in Engine 7 in West Peabody, which I consider the western part of the city. The other fire captain works on Ladder 1, which is in the central part of the city. And currently downtown, the deputy chief is housed out of downtown as well as dispatch in Engine 1. And on Engine 1, currently, there are 2 firefighters as well as 1 fire lieutenant. Those 4 lieutenants would be bumped up to captains, 1 on every division. We have division, we're broken down into Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think initially part of the thought in collective bargaining by the union was the fact that that particular officer downtown really does, especially when the deputy chief is on the road, makes a whole lot of command decisions, administrative decisions, and that's being down, and not take away from a fire lieutenant, but a fire captain is often somebody, especially after a year, who has experience in command. He actually is in ops often when the deputy chiefs are out. He rides the command vehicle and actually commanded incidents. So this person, who these proposed captains are going to be 4 individuals that will have a great more long-term, will have experience and will actually have the ability as a fire captain to make, better decisions, not better decisions, but more administrative decisions. And as they gave me that proposal, I sat back and I thought about it and I said, of course, we're trying to look at the money, and it's not a whole lot of cost. Mike, $48,000, I think, the difference for the 4 jobs. And then if you go to other cities, say Peabody's size, or just a little bit bigger, you see cities like Lynn that will have the deputy chief, and then they'll have district chiefs. So I'm looking at these 3 guys as saying, well, now I have a captain west that can take command of an incident. If we have a climate incident or a man-made or a terrorist act, we got somebody in the central part of the city, and we have somebody downtown. So as I studied, I said, I think it makes a whole lot of sense for a little bit of money. Plus, when the deputy fire chief is out, you have any one of 3 fire captains that can now take that position and not have to hire a deputy. And to take that a little bit further, we allow a certain amount of people out on vacation. Would never be more than 1 captain, but if you look at our current complement, so now you could ultimately have a captain out, a deputy out. And so if you look at it, when you look at it that way, we're really depleting our upper command structure operationally, especially at incidents. So I really felt during negotiations, and I went back to the mayor and I said, this makes a whole lot of sense from a city's perspective as well, operationally, to go with this. So I think for the amount of the dollar value, I think we're gaining a whole lot of a command structure and the ability to handle multiple incidents if and when they happen. So, I ask you to make this consideration and approve this ordinance change request. Thank you.
Questions from the council? Any questions? See none, so somebody make a motion? Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to amend the code of the City of Peabody, Chapter 12, Fire Protection and Prevention, Article 3, Fire Department, Section 12-4, affecting the staffing levels within the Peabody Fire Department, requiring the following: amend by deletion of the following: Section 12-41, Fire Department Establishment, Composition, Appointees of Members. A fire department is hereby established, which shall consist of a chief, 4 deputy chiefs, 10 captains, 17 lieutenants, 75 firefighters, 2 fire alarm maintenance men, and a supervisor of fire alarm maintenance, all whom shall be permanent members. It shall also include reserve force consisting of no more than which is authorized by the Civil Service Law, Mass General Law, Section 31, and insert in its place Section 12-41, Fire Department Establishment, Composition, Appointment of Members. A fire department is hereby established, which shall consist of a chief, 4 deputy chiefs, 14 captains, 13 lieutenants, 75 firefighters, 2 fire alarm maintenance persons and a supervisor of alarm maintenance, all of whom shall be permanent members. It shall also include a reserve force consisting of no more than that which is authorized by the Civil Service Law, Mass General Law, Section 31. So moved.
On the motion, Council Turco?
Very quickly, I'm trying to think back to we didn't fill a fire alarm maintenance man in the budget. Do we still meet this ordinance? We have two fire alarm maintenance and plus a supervisor still in the budget?
So we have a supervisor and only one maintenance at this time. I want to keep it as 3. I'm hoping that maybe next year, if the budget's looking better, we can put that position back in. But right now, on the budget, we only have the supervisor and then 1 maintenance position.
Thank you.
Council McGinn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on the motion and just a clarification, because I think Councilor Turco just inadvertently did the same thing. He made reference to maintenance men, and in the motion, I changed the word men to persons, just so that we can correct that going forward. So I just want the clerk to capture that. Thank you.
Councilman Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we changed the ordinance, was it 3 years ago? Due to the NIOSH report?
That's correct.
Saying that we needed 8 additional lieutenants for supervisory role. Bumped it up to 8, right?
I don't believe the NIOSH report spelled it out quite that way, that we needed 8.
People at home aren't going to hear you.
My apologies, thank you. Yeah, the NIOSH report did talk about supervisory, and basically it inferred about company size. So those are the changes that we did make at that time, where we changed. We had 2 companies in the city that were unsupervised, and there were only 2 firefighting companies. So those 2 companies, which was engine 3 and 4, we went to a 3rd person on each, and those companies, which remained the same, and with a fire lieutenant. Nothing with that has changed at all, other than the lieutenant on engine 1, we're looking to bump up to a fire captain.
Right, but I guess my question is, we got a report that justified severely why we needed to add 8 lieutenants for supervision. So we did that, and we changed it so that we would have supervisors throughout the city. And now we want to bump up 4 of those supervisors to captain and keep 4 lieutenants. So the supervision's already there. It just seems that we're bumping up 4 positions for $40,000. It'd be about $10,000 increase to the 4 positions when they're already providing the supervision that was requested just 3 years ago. And what has already been pointed out is that the fire alarm position has been eliminated from the budget, and that's $40,000. So there was no savings if we're giving the $40,000 that was saved into increased salary for people to provide supervision that is already was provided for after justification 3 years ago. So
well,
I'm just confused. I understand it was in negotiations, but that's separate and distinct from this ordinance change. So.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it is separate and distinct, but again, this collective bargaining agreement is conditional upon this ordinance change. I mean, so they definitely dovetail. Then I wouldn't really consider it separate and distinct, with all due respect. And I hear what you're saying. I'm not disputing the fact that anything about the NIOSH report doesn't talk about lieutenants, it doesn't talk about captains, it just talks about supervision. And the reality of it is, if you understand our operations and what happens downtown, now we had to move, because of the building, we had to move the ladder truck with the fire captain out of fire headquarters. The only way to remedy that is to come out and build a new fire headquarters for a lot of money. So at this point in time, we have a lieutenant that's downtown that's making decisions that, in my professional opinion, should be left to a fire captain. The fire deputy isn't always in-house. The fire deputy is throughout the whole city, and the union recognized that. They brought that to my attention. I researched it, I looked at it, I considered it, talked to the mayor, and they're right. That particular position should have a fire captain and not a lieutenant. If you understand the difference between operationally what they both can do and they can't do, I think you could get an understanding, and it's really hard for me to break. You're right, as a company officer, it's one and the same. But now there's administrative stuff, and everything that happens in our department, everything, filters through fire alarm dispatch, everything. So to keep a fire lieutenant there, that person can do it, but it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of judgment calls that happens down there.
So if you feel that the one, unless I'm misunderstanding you, the one lieutenant that is acting as a captain, why don't you make one captain and why 4?
Well, that would have to be negotiated by peace manning. You would then have to, we'd have to go back to the unions, renegotiate to remove that person from from ladder 1 to a lieutenant in lieu of a captain, and that's been a long-standing, and I'm not saying that can't happen, but again, my other argument is, look at the city as a whole. I've been many years of experience, we've had multiple incidents, and again, I think it's a better place to have these 3 captains in place. We don't technically have fire districts, large cities do. I've always considered west, central, east, downtown, and I think it would be in the best interest to adopt this and to have 3 captains throughout the city to make those major command decisions that often have to take place.
Okay. And not to beat a dead horse, but 3 years ago, we were approached that we needed supervisors, whether the NIOSH said lieutenants or whatever. In the city of Peabody, it's an officer is a lieutenant, it's not the firefighter. So that's what was presented to us 3 years ago, and we did do that. And it was 8
Progressive
promotions
fire
and
departments change. Things change, opinions change, information changes. Again, you're right, the NIOSH, I think you're getting caught up on company officer stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ability to make command decisions, which isn't always should be left strictly to a company officer. To make you understand it better, because we don't have that layer, if you go to the police structure, you're going to see a sergeant. That sergeant, although they're a supervisor, they're a working supervisor. So I'm breaking the city down into 3 districts. I'm hoping to have a captain in each district to make those decisions, to let the deputy be free to make the bigger decisions. And again, I agree with what the union proposed. I'm on board with it. I'm not trying to dispute anything that you're saying. I just think I did propose that 3 years ago, but 3 years later, after talking with them, this is where we feel that we're at.
And what about if there's disparity at one station with the lieutenant? What about the firefighters that are there? Are they getting disparate treatment as well? Because if there's no captain there and there's a lieutenant there, and then you bump the captain up, or lieutenant up to a captain, aren't they doing more than?
I don't see that.
Aren't they doing more than other firefighters at other?
If you saw the other way through, then you could say that on every company. You could say the same thing.
I'm asking you. I'm not.
No, I don't see it that way. Yeah, I don't see it that way.
I was asking if there's disparate treatment. That's all, because I wouldn't want to do anything that would create morale issues.
I really don't think that the local would introduce something that would be disparaging to their own members. Again, this is their request. This was what they bargained for. It's what we agreed to. So if that was be the case, then, you know, they would be on the hook for that, not necessarily the city.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
No, I get it.
And,
I understand.
you know, you come to us and ask us to do
Yep.
things, and I like to understand what
Yep,
I'm being
understood.
asked to do.
Understood.
So, and, you know, lastly, I'm not completely against this. It's just the budget, I just don't think it's a good time to be giving promotions. I think we've had to cut some teachers. We've not filled some positions. There's going to be again, if this budget passes, the projected residential tax increase is going to be, I think, $213, and then we still haven't even gotten to the school side. And I believe that there was a point where teachers were asked to take furloughs too, and I don't think that transpired. But you know, this is the budget climate that we're in right now. So maybe I would think, my opinion would be not the best time to give 4 promotions.
My only response to that is I leave that to the wisdom of the council. I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so, you know, I'm not saying, you know, maybe there would be a better time to present this, but I just don't think that this is the budget, with this budget situation that we have going on right now, that this is the appropriate time to be giving out $10,000 salary increases when, you know, people are being asked to be furloughed, and I think we cut teachers' positions up on the school side too. So, well, those are my thoughts, but thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, just to respond to that, I do want to state that, again, this was discussions with the fire union. They came to us expressing some concerns of the operations, safety of the department. To me, that is something that I obviously take very serious. We researched it, felt it was the right investment to make, again, for the safety and protection of our firefighters, in a proposal that they brought forward for us, asking us for our assistance in making a safer environment for them. To me, this was a very easy decision.
Other councilors? On the motion? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas, Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
No.
Sasla.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
DeVoe.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-1.
Excuse me, Council Chairman.
Yes, Councilor Sasslaw.
I'd like to make a request to recess this part of our agenda and go to the regular scheduled hearing. You know, it's 9:30. We do have a couple of special permits. There is a public hearing. I think we have an obligation to try and get them finished this evening. Then, if the council's will is to go back to that, we can. But I'd like to go to request to recess this and open up the regularly scheduled public hearing.
I'm going to go through Dave. No, I need just a minute to talk if I can.
Councilor Sasslaw has a request. What's the wish of the council, I guess, at this point in time?
Dave, if I can, through the chair, I just want to have a minute just to reply. I just want to thank everybody. This is my last meeting.
Yeah.
So if that's okay.
I agree with Councilor Sasslaw. The only one I wanted to ask is if we could do the building department permit fee schedule. I wanted to see maybe if we could take that one, and then if we want to hold till next week, the others till Tuesday's meeting, I'm comfortable with that. I did want to ask, though, if we could maybe do the building new permit fee schedule. Mr. Tallarico is here. I'd love to do the sewer and water rates, but I didn't know if that might generate more discussion. Mr. Labossiere is here, but we could hold that one as well. I just wanted to see if we could take that up. I think item F, which could generate a lot of discussion, we could maybe hold that one till next week, if it's the will of the council. But I know we do have the two here that I wanted to see if we could maybe at least look at those.
Councilor Turco.
This might be one of the first times I get to use my power as council president, and I'm going to agree with the mayor on that. I think that we should, these two gentlemen have waited here. I'd like to hear both. If the discussion ensues on water and sewer rates and we have to put that aside in the middle of the discussion, but I would like to get through both. Council Salso is correct, it's 9:30, but both these gentlemen have been here for 3.5 hours, and they've extended the courtesy to us, and I'd like to extend the courtesy to them.
Okay. Well, just to clarify on the, since this is a committee of the Finance Committee of the whole, the decision is really up to me. But in deference to, I'd like, our other councils want to go with the two, or the one issue at least. Seems to be the consensus is to go that way. We'll take them, and then we'll see how we do after C, and if we feel we can do the water and sewer, then we will. If not, I apologize. We'll bring the person back. Okay. So item C is the building department new permit fee. Mr. Tallarico. Oh, wait a minute. I heard you and I forgot because there was Al, could you just take 1 second? The fire chief would like to say something. This is the last meeting the fire chief will be with us for.
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you all. This will be my last coming before you in this council, and I want to take the opportunity to thank you all very much. You've always supported the fire department. You've always supported me. It's an amazing legislative body. I got an amazing boss. We got amazing firefighters. But I just want to thank you guys for always being there, always listening. We didn't always get everything I wanted, but most of the time. And I just want to take the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Now, Mr. Tallarico.
Good evening. As the communication from the mayor states, he asked me to take a look at the department as a whole, and particularly the fee structure that we currently have. That letter that I sent to the council regarding the fee schedule, it hasn't been looked at since 1996. After further review, I took a look at all the fee schedules in there, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical. Simply put, it needs to be updated to be in line with our needs and with other communities. After reviewing them, I wanted to achieve two goals. One of them was just to keep it simple and clean. Our current ordinance is very lengthy and a bit complicated to some of the customers that review it. The second was to make it the rates a lot more fair and balanced. On the building permit side, we have three-tier structure right now that involves alterations, additions, and renovations that are charged $10 per thousand. And that's for residential, which includes R4 multifamily homes. For new construction right now, we're charging $14 per thousand, and our commercial rate is at the same thing, which is $14 per thousand. Looking at it, I feel there's a need to streamline it again, and my proposal is to change the residential rate to $15 per thousand for alterations, renovations, new homes, and to change commercial to $20 per thousand. Looking at the electrical and the plumbing fees, those will decrease. Right now, as the ordinance is written, the electrical and plumbing fees are based on construction costs, not the cost that they would charge a customer. So, an example, someone's building a home that's $200,000, a plumber comes in, he's being charged on that $200,000, not what he's actually charging their customer. So instead of $400, an example, if they charge a job $20,000, we charge them $2 per thousand. That would be a fee of about $400. We can't do it that way, so we charge them $200,000 on that, and it comes out to about 40 grand. I mean, 4 grand. I want to change that approach. That's why I'm kind of balancing out the building side and reducing the electrical and plumbing side, just to be a lot more fair. These changes will increase revenue for about $230,000. The majority of it is through the commercial side, and a small increase on the residential side. $30,000 probably is going to be what we're looking at on the residential side.
So the information that's been presented to us in the packet, item C, which has the old fees and the new fees. Does anybody have any questions specific to Mr. Tallarico regarding his proposal? Council Melville.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tallarico, you compared other communities to gather this information, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you found that our current structure wasn't in line with similar communities?
Yes, I took a look at 3 communities. One is Braintree, Beverly, and Saugus. I wanted to use some that were around us, some that had fee changes that they just changed, and something more or less a community fit in line with what we have as far as commercial mix, residential, and the size and population. I found that Braintree was actually the model that I wanted to follow. They have a rate of $15 per thousand and $20 per thousand for commercial. Saugus, just to give you a high end on the commercial side, charges $24 per thousand. But they charge a little less on the residential side to offset it. And Beverly is $12 per thousand for residential and $15 for commercial.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Council Shrest.
Thank you. Mr. Tallarico, you were saying that you reduced the fees, am I correct? Reduced the fees for electrical and plumbing in residential?
Yes. I'm beefing up one side and reducing the other, just to balance it out. Like I said, the way the ordinance was written, and it was back in 1996 that it was last looked at, really didn't have good language in there. And when I came on board several years ago, I followed that same model from my predecessor, charge the construction cost, not the actual plumbing cost or the electrical cost. So everything was based on the overall value of the construction, not just that particular trade. What I'm proposing is just to reduce that side and increase the building permit side.
Just so I understand, so how would you determine what the cost of the plumbing and electrical would be done in a residential home?
So that would be separate. So if you just had straight plumbing or electrical and someone was doing some sort of job, we would use that $2 per thousand. But if there was a new home, a large addition, something that was significant in cost, we would use that, the larger cost to charge them $2 per thousand.
So you would be looking at the estimate bill they would be getting to determine that on a residential? I know you're saying it, and it's just not clicking in my head. I just want to understand it. I'm not challenging you. I'm just trying to understand it. So if someone's going to have new wiring put in their house for, their bedrooms because their amperage isn't correct, you would charge them what they would be paying an electrician to do that? Or is it a table that you use about the estimated cost of that?
So if it was a standalone electrical or plumbing permit, with no other building permit associated with it, where someone was going in there and changing some pipes, and adding some switches, we would use whatever they were charging the customers, $10,000 for the job, let's say. We'd use $10,000, $2 per thousand, it would give us the fee. If it was a building permit associated with it, brand new home, that's $200,000. All those, the plumbing, electrical would be based on that cost, which in some ways, you know, it's very unfair, I think. And in other ways, you know, someone is able to benefit from just straight electrical and plumbing costs. So I tried to balance those out to keep in line with other communities, make sure that, you know, that the overall revenue doesn't change, and slightly increase it. And that's where I came up with the 230,000 increase.
And I thank you for doing that, because what I want the message to get out, not that it's going to be costing a resident more money in fees because they want to upgrade their electrical, to be there by code or plumbing the same way, that they're not in fear of doing the permit, taking out the permit, doing it the right way because they're in fear that it's going to cost them more money. And actually what you're saying is going to cost them less. Correct?
On the trades, yeah.
On the trades.
On the building permit side, it's going to increase.
I get it, but I just don't want the message out there, people thinking that if they upgrade their electrical to code and, you know, doing the safe way, that by pulling the permit, they're actually going to, they're not going to be getting charged any more money, it'll be less. Thank you.
Yep.
Council Gould, then Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, Al, why Braintree?
Same, they have an overall, the amount of construction going on in Braintree, I feel is significant and almost equal to ours. The side of the population is kind of close to ours. And again, I also looked at the fees, whether they were just revised or not.
Again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the Building Commissioner, Mr. Tellerico, thank you for your work on this. It's, you know, we've got 23-year-old information. It's time to update. And as Councilor Melville pointed out, the effort that you made to benchmark it against other communities, you know, is really helpful. In digesting this, I would just point out to the council, fellow councilors, that, you know, the local revenues that we've already kind of signed up for here in the budget already have the $230,000 factored in. So we pretty much need to do this if we're gonna hit the local revenue number that we are estimating in that in the budget proposal. So, Mr. Chairman, when you've heard from all councilors and all comments, I'd be ready to make a motion. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? I'd like the motion to be to dispense with the reading, because I don't think we need to read this entire document. So I think the proper motion would be to dispense with the reading and to approve for advertising the insertion, the city Appendix A schedule of fees as presented by the building inspector.
I'm sorry, can I add to that just one thing? I wanted to make a correction on the schedule that I have here. After talking to our city solicitor, one of the line items actually two of the line items that I have here need to be removed. That's the annual billboard fee for static and the annual billboard fee for digital. We're not allowing any of those. It was just one of those line items that I had prior, and I added them on there. And after discussing it with the city solicitor, it's best to remove those.
And the motion will be to also amend the schedule, deleting annual building fee static and annual billboard fee digital in their entirety. Everybody good with that? On the motion, move by Councilor McGinn.
So moved.
Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasla. Charis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 11 to 9.
Given the lateness of the evening and the need to start the regular meeting, we're going to recess this meeting till Tuesday at 7 p.m. and go into our regular meeting.